You're welcome to my channel. So let's go straight into the tutorial. In making a crop top, you're going to measure out your bust point. You're going to measure from your shoulder to where your bust is. For me, it is 10.5, so that's why I'm marking out 10.5 here. Then I'm going to mark the length of your crop top. For me, the length is 17 inches. Then I added 1 inch allowance to it. Okay, that 10.5 I marked for my bust point. My real bust point is 10, so I added half inches, which I'm going to be using as the seam allowance at the shoulder. So that was why I made it 10.5. I've already added all the allowance to it. So now I'm just going to rule this out to form a straight line so that I can measure out my bust and waist circumference. So now I'm going to measure out my neckline. I use 3.5 for the depth of the neck, and then I use 3.5 also for the wideness, because it's a crop top and I don't want the neck to be too wide. So that was why I used 3.5 by 3.5. Okay, so now after I'm done with it, I'm going to measure out my shoulder, which is I divided my shoulder into 2, which is 7.5 plus half inches sewing allowance, making 8. So then on that 8 mark, I came down by 1 inch, which serves as my shoulder slope. Then from that 1 inch, I'm going to connect it to my neckline. So then from there, I'm going to measure my chest line. For me, my chest line, I'm going to measure it from that shoulder slope I marked out. So my chest line is 7.5, and I'm going to be marking 7.5 from the shoulder slope.
4G, I don't feed, now they down below. A nigga got so much money on me, I can't count no more.
So now I'm going to mark out a straight line with what I measured, and now this line is now my chest line. So I'm going to divide this, my measurement divided by 2, whatever I have. I'm going to mark it out. I'm going to be measuring out what I have on my shoulder, the length of my shoulder, and then I'm going to make out a straight line there. And now I want to cut out the armhole. So on that point where I divided it by 2, I came in by half of an inch, and then I connected it to the shoulder slope and then down to the chest line. So this here now is our armhole curve. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to be taking my round circumference measurement. For my bust point, I'm going to be measuring it here on my chest line. My bust is 40 inches, so I added 2 inches allowance to that, which is 12. Then I came down to my waistline. I measured out the same thing, which is 12 inches. Because this is a crop top, it's not going to be having a zipper or maybe a button or something. So that is why I measured out the same thing I have on the bust, and I measured that same thing on the waistline, because it should be a free top since it's not having a zipper. But along the line, I noticed that if I leave it like this, it's not going to really give me the good fitting and good shape that I wanted. So I'm going to be deducting out 1 inch from that waist measurement, to which now I have 11, and I connected that 11 inches mark to my chest line. So the horizontal lines I have here are my shoulder slope, my chest line, my bust line, and then my waist line. So now we are done with cutting of the front part, and then I'm going to be cutting this out so that we can cut it on our main fabric. I hope you understand it to this end. Please, if you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comment section, and I'll be there to give answers to your questions. So you can see I'm being careful while cutting out the curves and the edges, so that you have a straight curve there, and then so that when you're cutting out your curve, is going to really come out nice and having that beautiful curve. And if you're cutting a straight line, it's going to be straight. So that is why I'm taking my time to cut this out. Now we are done with cutting out our patterns. Now I'm labeling it. That's the chest line, the bust line, and then the waist line. So I'm going to be placing this on my actual fabric, and I'm going to be cutting out my actual fabric now, the same way I cut out the patterns. So the first thing to do to cut out the fabric, you're going to fold your fabric into 2 folds, like the way you see that I did here in the video. Then I placed my pattern on this fabric. I placed my pattern on the fabric, and I'm going to be cutting out the exact pattern. Reason why I'm cutting it out the exact way is because I've already added all my allowance to my patterns. I already added the shoulder allowance, the seam allowance. I already added everything to the pattern. So that is why I'm going to be cutting my fabric exactly the same measurement as and the same size. I'm going to be cutting it exact. It's going to be exact the way I cut out my pattern. So I already added the armhole allowance to my pattern, and I already added the seam allowance and also the shoulder allowance. I already added every allowance I needed, so that is why I'm not going to be adding any extra allowance. So this is what we have for the front of our crop top. Now I'm going to be going on to cut the back panel. So for the back panel, you're going to fold your fabric into 2 as well, like this. And for the back panel, you're not going to be adding any allowance because it's a crop top, it's not having a zipper, as I said earlier. So you're going to be placing your front exactly on the back without adding any allowance, and you're going to cut it out exactly. So that was why on the waist I added a little more measurement, because my waist is 28 inches, but you can see for this particular one I didn't use 28 inches because it's a crop top. It has to be free a little so that you can easily wear it, and you can easily put it on. So now I'm cutting out my back panel.
And it came from the bottom down below. Remember them cold nights, I was sleeping on the floor. Always dreamed about the 4G, I don't feet, now they down below. A nigga got so much money on me, I can't count no more. Remember I was in the project wall, couldn't even get along. Now they niggas got their hands out, if I ain't give it, I be wrong. Remember I was in the county jail, none of these bitches wasn't picking up the phone. Now they making my line, I ain't got time no more. A nigga started from the bottom, now I'm living. Early morning, Uncle whipping in the kitchen.
So for the neckline of the back, I came down by 1 inch, and I used the same wideness as I used for the front, which is 3.5 inches for the front. For the back panel, I used 3.5 inches wideness and then 1 inch as the depth for the back neckline. So now we are done cutting the front and the back panel. So now we're going over to cut our sleeve. Remember that is a V-shaped bell sleeve. It's having that V shape in front, just as we saw in the picture. So it's a V-shaped bell sleeve. So that's what I'm going to be cutting out now. So I folded this into 2 as well. I folded my fabric into 2 as well, and I came down by 3 inches. And I used 11 inches. I folded this fabric by 11 inches, as you can see. So now I marked out 9 inches at the tip of my sleeve, and I marked out 9 inches also at the midpoint. Why I marked out 9 inches is because for my normal sleeve I always use 9 inches. So on that 9 inches mark, I came down by 3 inches, and I'm going to mark out a curve there, which is going to fit and sit perfectly around my armhole region. So I'm going to be joining that 11 inches that I marked. I'm going to be joining it to that 9 inches mark. And I'm just going to cut it out.
And it came from the bottom down below. Remember them cold nights, I was sleeping on the floor. Always dreamed about a 4G.
So to make that V-shaped in front, I came up by 2.5 inches. I came up by 2.5 inches. I used 2 inches here, but later on I came up by half of an inch extra. So in all total I used 2.5 inches. So I joined into the tip to the other end of the sleeve, and then I cut it out, as you can see in the video. So this is our sleeve, but I saw that it wasn't really giving me the effect that I wanted, so I'm going to be cutting my armhole part, that region of my armhole. I'm going to be cutting it out a little bit more, so that I can have that V shape. I'm going to so that I can have that bell sleeve that I actually wanted.
And it came from the bottom.
So right here I'm measuring out my armhole, and I saw that it's perfectly okay, but I can still remove like 1 inch out of this. So I removed out 1 inch from that armhole region, and I connected it to my sleeve. So now I have the sleeve I actually wanted, which is the bell sleeve. So done with this, and this is what it came out to be. You can see how beautiful and how lovely this is. Thank you so much for watching to this end. I really do appreciate you a lot. Please, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please click on the subscribe button, like my videos if you found it helpful or you found it useful. Like my videos, please give me your comments. And this is the inside of the top. You can see this is our sleeve. You can see how beautiful it's looking. You can see how the bell sleeve came out. It really came out really nice, and the V shape also really came out so nice. You can see the neck also, it came out so nice and round as well. So this is the outside of the top. You can see this really came out beautiful. It really came out well. I'm so happy, and I also love how this came out to be. You can see how beautiful and it came out. You can see how lovely it is. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to click on the subscribe button. Bye.